Okay, so you've now listed down your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in a SWOT diagram. Now, does that make for a strategy? Obviously not yet. So watch this episode of The Corporate Mechanic to find out how. Hello everyone, this is Joey and welcome to The Corporate Mechanic. Now this is actually part 3 of our topic known as how to correctly do a SWOT diagram. So in the first part, we've actually talked about the structure on how to do a SWOT diagram. The second part, we actually used an example which is Happy Bakery. So we talked about that and we were able to actually define the SWOT diagram of that store, okay, of that bakery. But then, where most companies, where most people always end up is just creating the SWOT diagram, which is not really something that you can use to come up with a strategy. What it does is it gives you an idea, an analysis of where you are, what the organization is good at, what the organization is weak at, and so on and so forth. It doesn't really give you an idea on how to move forward. And that's what's missing in most SWOT diagrams. Now here on part 3, we will actually talk about how to come up with a strategy using a SWOT diagram. Okay? So the way to do this, the way to come up with a strategy is to actually use the 2 dimensions that we use in creating a SWOT diagram. The first dimension is whether it is positive or negative. The second dimension is whether it is internal or external. You try to mix both dimensions and there you come up with a strategy. Some people call this the TOWS analysis, TOWS, which is just basically the reverse of SWOT. I don't know who came up with that idea, but hey, let's use it, okay? So how do you do that? First, you combine your strengths and your opportunities. You look at those, okay? You then look at your strengths and your threats. You then look into your weaknesses and your opportunities. And then lastly, you look into your weaknesses and your threats. So you combine these areas together. And then from there, you come up with an idea. You come up with a strategy. Oftentimes, for your strengths and opportunities, these are your focus areas. These are the areas wherein you would like to come up with a plan. This is often your go-to strategy. Okay? Because you're talking about what are you good at and what is the opportunity that's out there. And then you come up with a plan for that. Okay? Next, for strengths and threats, we use your strengths to minimize the threats. Okay? So, we use what you have. What are you good at? And how can you use that against anything that is, from the outside coming in? Anything that will threaten your business. You try to defend your business using your strengths, okay, in order to minimize your threats. Now, the third strategy would be to look at your weaknesses and your opportunities. And the way to do this is to address your weakness in order to maximize the opportunity. So if you are weak in something, how can you address that? So that you can leverage on the opportunity that is out there. If that weakness is preventing you from leveraging on that opportunity, by addressing that weakness, you can further take hold of that opportunity that is out there. And then lastly, for weakness and threats, these are often parts of your business that would be best served by getting out of it. You're weak in that, and at the same time, you have a threat that's coming towards you, that's better to exit, okay, or to cut your losses, or to do something that will totally avoid that scenario, okay? So those are the 4 ways or the 4 strategies that you can use. You have the strengths and opportunities known as the maxi model, okay, maximize strength, maximize opportunities. You have strengths and threats, which is a maxi-mini opportunity. You maximize the strengths while minimizing the threats. Okay, you have the mini maxi, which is weakness and opportunities. You minimize the weakness by maximizing opportunities, and then of course you have the mini, where you like to minimize weaknesses and minimize threats. All right. So those are the ways to strategize. So how do you use that in our current example? Okay. So remember we talked about Happy Bakery. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can always watch our previous video on that. Okay. So let's first look at the strengths and opportunities. What's a strategy with regards to that? Well, one of the opportunity that we talked about is the fact that people like to eat within the bakery itself. So looking at the competition, the competition has people because they want to eat out. They want to, it's very typical when you go to a bakery, you already eat there as well. Okay? And one of your strengths is the fact that you're very accessible. So one strategy would be to retrofit your bakery so that, okay, it can cater to people who would like to eat in that vicinity. So you might need to, probably put some space where people can just hang out whenever they buy something, So that's one area that you can look into, making it the same as your competitor. Because remember, the reason why your competitor gets clients, gets customer, the competitor of Happy Bakery, is because they can actually make tambay there. Okay, they can have their snacks there. So if Happy Bakery does that, then it's a strategy that they can use to get more clients. Okay, those who opt to eat at the bakery, as opposed to they wherein they can't do that. All right. So that's how to come up with a strategy using strengths and opportunities. Now let's look at strengths and threats. Okay. One of your strengths is your accessibility. The fact that you are near the subdivision. The fact that there is a TODA near you. Right? So those are your strengths. A threat that you have is the fact that because of the pandemic, people do not want to go out. Your typical clients, the typical clients of Happy Bakery, which are office workers that normally go to their offices in the morning and drop by the bakery, are now gone or have, significantly decreased. Okay? So how do you come up with a strategy with that? You know that you are accessible, you know that you're near the subdivisions, you know that there is a TODA near you, but there are no more customers because they're home. They're at home. So one very possible strategy would be to bring the bakery at home. So you can always maximize the TODA. You can ask them, you can pay them, a delivery charge or whatever, and you can start delivering to the subdivisions. The fact that, they can get their pandesal even without going out is a new type of service that you can provide. You're trying to leverage on the threat. You're trying to turn that threat into an opportunity for you to be able to service your customers better. The fact that you have the TODA there, why not, hire one of the tricycle drivers to go around and, provide some of the pandesal. Your customers can just text you the orders. Nothing wrong with that, or Viber their orders or whatnot. Especially in this pandemic period, that's a service that not many bakeries could have probably thought of. Right? So that's a strategy. That's a way to move forward with the business. Let's look at another one. Let's look at weaknesses and opportunities. One of the weakness of Happy Bakery is the fact that only few of the products are being bought. You have a lot of inventory, you have a lot of products that are not being, they're not that popular. Okay? So like your Mona, your Pande whatever, your Makabayan, your whatever types of other bakery products that are not being bought. That's a weakness that eats into your expenses. But an opportunity is the fact that people would want to eat in the bakery. So what can you do? Remember, in a bakery, you have shelves, display shelves, you have, places where you put in these other products. Why not, allocate a portion? You stop doing production on those non-sellable items, those low sales items, and just focus on selling pandesal and Spanish bread, and then you carve out a portion of that store in order for people to be able to eat in, okay? To eat near the store. So because before, I guess it was because of the fact that the store is big and it's putting up a lot of inventory and it takes up space. Why not take out that inventory, don't make those products, and just use the space for people to eat in, okay? So you're now leveraging on the opportunity by minimizing your weakness. Your weakness is that you have too much inventory. So take that out and just take over the opportunity, right? So that's the strategy in terms of weaknesses and opportunities. And then lastly, you have weaknesses and threats. So as I've said a while ago, oftentimes this is the strategy for this type of situation is to get out, okay, to cut your losses. So what's a weakness here? A weakness is that you're not earning a lot, okay, because of the fact, one of the reasons why you're not earning a lot is because you have high operating expenses. Just like the other bakeries, you're running at 24 hours in terms of operations, so you take that out. Because of the threat that there is a pandemic, not many people are going out, so not many people are going to the store. So you cut your operating hours into probably your peak hours, which is, in the morning and in the afternoon when people have their snacks. So probably after 4 p.m., after snack time, then close shop. So that reduces your operating expenses. Okay? So you're cutting your losses in terms of that area, knowing that there is this threat in terms of the pandemic. Okay? And it's eating in towards hitting your operating expenses. Alright? So those are ways to come up with strategies. Those are strategies coming out of looking at those two dimensions in the SWOT diagram. Alright? So now you have something that you can actually act upon. It's not just knowing what these things are, but really acting upon these things. Alright? So I do hope I was able to give you an insight on how to properly and correctly use a SWOT diagram. Alright? So we're still in our strategic management series. So in our next episode, we'll be coming up with other topics on strategy that I do hope will be able to help you guys in your journey as a manager and as a leader. Okay? So you have some comments, questions, or whatnot, please write that down in your comment section. Send us a direct message if you'd like to. I do hope that you guys subscribe to this channel. Hit on the subscribe button, hit on like, hit on the notification so that you get notified whenever we have some new episodes here at the Corporate Mechanic. Okay? So thank you guys for watching. Stay safe and stay blessed.